Breezy Hill RV Resort wanted me to move the RV all the way over here so the wheels are beside the pad, but you can see the sewer connection is right here. That would put the sewer connection right underneath the RV. I'd have to crawl into there to hook it up.
Get a 1,000 Trails membership and it will save you money. If you saw our video about our expenses for our first year as full-timers, you know we are trying to cut costs, especially since Larry quit his job. With our 1,000 Trails and Trails Collection memberships, will they help? Is it worth it? Well, not here at Breezy Hill RV Resort in Pompano Beach, Florida. Think twice before paying for the Trails Collection or spending extra money to have access to Encores, especially if you want to be in Florida and especially in the winter. For those of you that know our campground tours, this is not like them. But for those of you that are new, I'm Alice.
And I'm Larry.
And we are Downsizing Makes Sense like the penny. We do usually site-to-site campground tours, we do DIYs, we do product reviews, and we do RV living full-time experiences.
Now that I do not have a job or an income, we really need to try to reduce our costs. Now, one of the costs that we have the most control over is camping fees. Now, using more 1,000 Trails and Encore parks is part of that solution. Now, we just spent a month at state and national parks, so we're trying to get some of those free 1,000 Trails days in to try to save some money. Now, this would normally be one of my site-to-site campground tours, but not this time. We do not recommend staying here unless you really need to. We will tour some of the RV spots and some of the amenities, but this video is more about sharing our story and our experience at Breezy Hill RV Resort here in Pompano Beach, the Trails Collection Package, and 1,000 Trails. So why are we here at Breezy Hill RV Resort in Pompano Beach? Well, we just had an awesome time for a month in the Keys and the Everglades. We're going back to the Everglades in a little bit. So we needed a spot to be able to kind of camp out for a while before we went back. We wanted to be close. So South Florida is perfect. We look on the 1,000 Trails map. We figure, hey, you know what, save a little money. Stay at 1,000 Trails Park, an Encore right here in Pompano Beach. Now, I went to high school right around the corner, so a lot of my friends are here in town. We can visit some of my friends. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, so once again, it's Larry's fault, but you guys should be used to this. I actually wanted to stay at Miami Everglades, which is an Encore, but online it says no allocated spots, and I called on the phone. They're like, no, it's booked through April. I did research. There's like hardly anything out there. I do remember a story Carrie from Roads for Rome told us, but her area was a different area than where we are, so we thought we'd be okay. And frankly, what choice do we have?
Yeah, so we're driving into Breezy Hill. I'm looking on the map, and everything starts to look familiar as I get close to the park, and I'm like, I forgot, this is in kind of a sketchy area of town. But we pull up to the gates, and the gates actually look pretty nice. We're like, hey, this maybe not be too bad. So we pull up to the gates, and they had called us and said, you know, the envelopes will be at the front. I go to get the envelope, and I'm like, nothing that says Grimm, which is my last name. Nope. But I see an envelope that says William. That's my first name. I'm like, would they really have put my first name on there? Well, sure enough, there's our package, and it's got all of our stuff in it. So we grab our package, and the gate code is actually this barcode thing. So we get through the gate, and we see on the map, they actually have drawn on the map where our spot is. So we drive to our spot, and we pull up, and we're like, this doesn't look good for us. It's really short. So we go through the paperwork again, and like, oh great, there's a list of about 10 other alternate spots for us to go to. We're like, bonus, we're good. They really thinking this ahead. This is great. So we like, you know, we drive around, and they're all within a pretty close area. But sure enough, every single one of the alternate sites already had an RV in it.
Yeah. So we wound up pulling back in here.
Okay, so we pull up to our spot, and we keep it in the road like we normally do. I kind of preset it to where I'm going to back in, but Allison and I get into the spot. We're like, what's the best place for it to go? Where do we want the wheels to go and stuff? We're like, the first thing we notice is the sewer connection is in a really weird spot. And we're like, this is going to be interesting. So I figure, no problem. I'll just maneuver the RV to the side, and we'll have the sewer connection under the slide. But it's shallow, so we're going to have to get all the way back, you know?
And you can see how hard it is to maneuver in here. There's not a lot of room to go back and forth and back and forth. So once we like put it in a spot, we're like, because the power looked pretty sketchy, I'm like, Larry, before we do slides and jacks and whatever, you better check the power.
Yeah, so they actually, instead of a box with, you know, breakers and all that stuff, it's just a single 50 amp plug. Yeah. Breakers are nowhere to be found.
No.
So I plug in my connection. I see the LED on the plug. The LED is lighting up. I hook it up to the RV. And, you know, I have the Evictron thing. It tells me that I'm getting grid power, so we're good.
Then I'm like, look at the water.
Yeah, so, and then the water connection's kind of sketchy, but it had strong power, and it looked pretty clean and stuff like that. I just need a longer hose to get over there, use my 50-foot hose. Yeah. So we're good. We figure, okay, so we got it all set, and we are ready to unhook and level it up and get all settled into our spot.
Yeah, everything's on the wrong side of a back and fifth wheel, and then we decided, well, there's this slab here that must be the only place you're supposed to park your truck, so we park the truck, we're done, we go inside, and it's time to relax.
So you know how it is, after you've parked and you've gone through the whole, we have this whole list we go through, we're in the RV, we got the AC cranked down, and we're just chilling out for like relaxing a little bit, and then bonk, 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 we got a knock on the door. Now we've only been here for just a few minutes, we're like, who could already be knocking on the door? So I open the door, and there's a guy there. He's got a Breezy Hill Highland Woods truck, and he's like, excuse me, sir, you have your car or truck parked on the concrete slab, and you can't do that. I'm like, okay, well, no problem, but I don't have any other place to park it. He goes, well, as a matter of fact, you've got your RV parked in the wrong spot. You need to have your RV all the way over to the slab. And I said, well, that's impossible, because if I put it all the way over the slab, the sewer connection will be directly right under the middle of the RV. And he goes, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have it under the RV.
You're supposed to crawl under to hook up your sewer.
And that's what I said to him. I said, we didn't know about this. And he kind of just said, you know, that's Thousand Trails should have let you know that. Yeah. That's just part of what, you know, how we do it here at Breezy Hill.
And then he says to Larry, because I'm listening, I'm actually still in the RV. He says, you're going to have to move your fifth wheel. So I pop out and I'm like, oh no. I was like, we're only here for 6 nights, and hitching and unhitching a fifth wheel is not easy. We're not moving. So Larry's a little more polite about it.
Yeah, so he says, okay, time to move it. And I said, you know, we really don't want to move. And he says, I totally understand you don't want to move. So then he actually offered us to park our truck in the site adjacent to us. There's a lot of empty sites here at Breezy Hill. Says we can just park it over there. He'll let the office know that that site cannot be allocated for an RV, and we should be good to go. So we were happy we didn't have to move.
Yeah, he was actually really nice. So we go back inside after this, and we're like, okay, the video we thought we were going to do is now about Breezy Hill, because we've never had an experience like this. This is ridiculous, and people, you need to know. So here we are, just chilling out, talking about how we're going to make this video, because we know this is going to be an interesting story. And guess what? We get this really unique knock on the door, so we know it's not the same guy.
It's like rumpa-da-bump, bump-a-da-bump, bump, bump, bump.
Yeah, so what do we do now, and who is this?
So I open the door, and there's this dude standing there, and he's like, comes right out and says, hey dude, I just saw you filming us at our campsite. What's up? My wife is going to come over here and get on you about it. So what's up? Yeah. Well, it turns out just a few minutes before this, I had been around filming all those alternate sites, and he actually was in one of the alternate sites that was supposed to be one of those places we could go to that was all filled. And I explained to him, you know, we have a YouTube channel. I was filming it. He ended up being a really cool guy. His name is Julio. And he had a lot of experience in Thousand Trails and Encore Parks. He's a full-time family guy, has 4 kids with him, and stays almost exclusively at Thousand Trails and Encores.
Yeah, but the best part is when he told us, when he booked on the phone with Thousand Trails Breezy Hill, that they read a disclaimer to him. Have you guys ever had a disclaimer read to you before you booked someplace? And I was like, that didn't sound right, because we didn't get a disclaimer. But we're going to explain that disclaimer a little later. But he did say that part of it was you might have to crawl under your RV to hook up your sewer, which he said he did crawl under his RV.
Yeah, the other thing we talked about when Julio came over is that this place is like a ghost town. All these park models like this right here, they're all boarded up. I guess they're all Canadians that own them, and of course they can't come here. So like 80% of these park models are boarded up. It's like a hurricane's coming or something. Now, Breezy Hill actually has a sister park right beside it called Highland Woods. It's kind of weird that they're both Encores, and when you look on the Thousand Trails map, it looks like there's just one park here, and really only shows up Breezy Hill, but if you zoom in, you'll see that Highland Woods is right beside it. So I figure, let me check out Highland Woods. Maybe this is better suited for us and what we do. It's just as, you know, more of the transient Thousand Trails people. So I get on my bike and I ride over there, and sure enough, it's more of like us. It's like fifth wheels and Class A's that are there for a week or 2 weeks, and there's a lot less of this park metal stuff over there. The funny thing is, the place is like, I'd say 70% empty. It's really weird.
Yes. And because of this whole situation, I decided to call Thousand Trails because I was really curious about the Breezy Hill Highland Woods thing and about that disclaimer. So I talked to this person on Thousand Trails, and I said, yeah, you know, I'm not crazy about Breezy Hills, and someone told me there's a disclaimer that we never heard about. And she's like, well, let me look into it. And then she's like, oh, here it is. And she started to read the disclaimer word for word, and I was like laughing the whole time, because it's like, this is not a typical of what, I don't remember the exact words. I actually emailed Thousand Trails because I want to get a copy of that disclaimer. Do you think I'll get that?
No, it's not coming.
No, it's not coming. But basically, this is not typical of Thousand Trails. You're going to have to crawl under your RV. The hookups are in the wrong place.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada. So yeah, that would have been nice if the disclaimer was on the website. So our first night at Breezy Hill, and 6 a.m., there's a train going by. And not just a train, but a really long, like it lasted for the longest time.
You can hear it like chugga 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 chugga. I'm already up at that time. I'm walking scrappy. I'm up by the front gate, and they have this like really tall security gate to come in and out. The funny thing is, the exit is wide open, and I guess it had been open all night. I guess the gate just wasn't operating. It was just kind of weird that they have this security, but the gate is open all night.
But speaking of Scrappy, another issue, there are cats everywhere. So Scrappy is bark, 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 bark about the cats. And, you know, I decided with all this research about this place, because I'm getting really curious and we're researching for this video, on the website for Breezy Hill, it actually says no dogs allowed.
No pets.
No pets allowed.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, there's cats too. So, but I don't think they're pets.
I think they're feral cats.
Yeah, I don't think they're pets. But the thing is, our paperwork coming in told us where we're allowed to walk those pets that you're not supposed to have in the park. So there's definitely
some conflicting information
from
here.
The website to what you hear on the phone to what the paperwork says. So you just got to be aware of those things.
Now let's go over the pros here at Breezy Hill.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
Well, for instance, this is in South Florida, so it's obviously really nice and warm during the winter, and we're within 15 minutes of two awesome beaches, Pompano Beach and Deerfield Beach. You can have your feet in the Atlantic Ocean in 15 minutes. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now also, this is in a suburban area, so like pretty much every store you can think of that you need to get to buy stuff is probably within about half an hour. It's just, it's that kind of urban environment.
Yeah.
Now for me, it's also great. This is near where I grew up in South Florida. It's close to, all my old friends. I can come back to South Florida and visit. So to me, there's a lot of pluses to coming back here to Breezy Hill. I think I'd come back again. No,
we're not. Okay, so this is the third Encore we've stayed at, and two of them I would never go back to, including this one. The one I would go back to is Clearbrook. That actually is pretty nice. So that means I've got like a 33% approval rate for Encores in Florida. So yeah, that's not so good.
Thousand Trails and Encore parks are necessary for us to sustain this lifestyle by helping reduce our average nightly camping costs. Now, most of the time they are clean and safe and well managed by properly trained staff. This park is an exception. We will continue to go to Thousand Trails and Encore parks to save money. We will try to avoid this park. But there are not a lot of reasonably priced alternatives in this area.
I would have liked to get into the Encore Miami Everglades, but couldn't online or by talking on the phone, which is one of the biggest problems with a membership here in Florida in the winter. In fact, we never could get into Sunshine Key or Fiesta Key, those Encores in the Keys.
Now, we spent 60 nights in Thousand Trails parks in our first year, and it cost us about $500. Now, that's an average nightly cost of about $8.33 per night. Now, we spent 23 nights in the Encore parks in our first year, with the Trails Collection membership, which cost us $200. Now that's an average nightly cost of $8.65 per night. Now that's pretty good, and this is why we purchased another year of 1,000 Trails Camping Pass and the Trails Collection for 2021. Now that is a total cost of about $900.
Like I said before, there are some 1,000 trails I actually look forward to going to, but this isn't one of them.
Now, considering our average nightly cost at a state or national park is about $30 per night, less than $9 per night is a pretty good savings.
Yeah.
Now, we may have to come back here someday when we need to be in South Florida. It's the closest park in South Florida where I grew up, but now we know what to expect and how to have the best experience here as possible. Hopefully now you will too.
No. I'd rather go to Orlando, 1,000 Trails, and drive to this area.
No, that's way too far of a drive. That's not going to happen.
Well, then I guess we're not going.
Now we're going to show you a brief tour of some of the RV spots at both Breezy Hills and at Highland Woods, and some of the amenities that are available on both properties.
Yep. I don't expect 1,000 Trails or Encores to be like state or national parks, but some I do look forward to staying at. The main problem is there are only 3 true 1,000 Trails in Florida, so you're stuck with some pretty sketchy Encores. But it's up to you to decide if it's worth saving the money and the hassle. Some may say, what do you expect for free? But this isn't free. We paid hundreds of dollars for the Encore's Trails collection. And for what? If we can't get in the ones that are decent and we only can get in the ones like this, we may have wasted our money. And I'd rather save money somewhere else, like dump Larry's life insurance.
Or maybe that follow behind car. Have you stayed at Breezy Hill RV Resort here in Pompano Beach? Or have you stayed at some of the other Trails Collection Encore parks in Florida? Please share your experience in the comments, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, you can also leave the comments on our Instagram or Facebook page.
Now, if you like this kind of content we do, campground reviews and tours, RV DIY, RV product reviews, full-time RV living experiences, please consider subscribing to our channel by clicking this link below. Now, I'll also leave a link for more campground tours right over here for you to check out next. And remember,
downsizing does make sense.